What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Salty Runback, here to be your weekly intake of North American Developmental League of Legends. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you who are celebrating, as it is our day to give thanks as we are in the thick of the NA offseason. Fun little Salty Runback headlines for you here in this holiday season. My name is Grapes, joined alongside Hawk. Hawk, how are you doing today?
Grapes, I'm doing all right. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of news. If you missed our reaction video about all of the tier 2 news, we straight up just went through the article and talked about it for about an hour. You can go and check out that video, link in the description. Came out just a couple days ago. And now we have some other things to talk about, though, some of the other changes. There's been enough where we figured it was worth sitting down and recording. As we mentioned on our last episode, or I guess 2 episodes ago, we're sort of during the offseason going to be a little bit inconsistent, just sort of uploading here and there when it makes sense. We'll at least have some sort of holiday end-of-year celebration episode. Probably not too much more if I had to guess, just because we're getting to the point of the offseason where things are probably going to be pretty dead. Roster news could definitely change that, but then definitely when January starts back up, Salty Runback Season 3 will be back with weekly releases and perhaps even bigger and better things for you all to keep your eyes on.
Yeah, I'm super excited for what we have planned for 2025. Nothing really set in stone just yet, but we're starting to have those conversations. We want to make sure that we are covering this region, covering esports the best way possible. We have a couple ideas of how we can do that, but nothing exactly finalized, ready to announce to you guys just yet. But make sure you watch that previous episode if you haven't already.
It's a good one.
We're not going to be talking much about some of those specific changes in this headline specifically, but there is just a lot of other news, as Hawk said, for us to get to. So without further ado, let's jump right into it with our headlines. We're going to start off with the LTA a little bit, as they're starting to wrap up their roster now. At the time of us recording this episode, at the very least, which we're doing basically right after we did that America's reaction. So you're seeing this a couple of days later. So there might have been some other announcements by then. But at this current point, the only 2 players that were in the NACL in last split that are currently rumored to be signed on to an LTA North team are Srtty with Dignitas and ExYu, who was recently announced to Disguise. Now, there's a couple of players definitely that we were excited to potentially see get tier 1 opportunities that are not a part of that list, most notably the back-to-back MVP in ExYu, who everyone thought an announcement came out that he was going to have resident status for 2025. However, I don't know all of the exact details. I don't think anybody really knows the exact details, but that has not actually been confirmed or approved. And we don't know if that's necessarily the reason, but as of today, we do not see ExYu as well as anybody else from the NACL on a roster.
Yeah.
Hawk, what are your thoughts on this? And is there anybody that you're going to bat for in terms of another NACL player that you'd like to see in the LTA North?
I mean, if I'm being completely honest, outside of ExYu, I don't feel like there were any super obvious promotions. And I think that's fair to say. Like, I think there are players that could have been promoted, right? Like, anyone on Dragonsteel other than ExYu, I think like there's an argument for, right? Other players here and there that we've talked about, like Lens, right? Like, I'm disappointed that none of them got an opportunity. I am very happy for Srtty and ExYu. I'm very disappointed in how the system has completely failed ExYu, dude. If he's not on a team, like, that's insane. Obviously the whole like resident thing was super weird, but why did no one pick him up anyway, even if he's an import? Like, Disguise ended up going with ExYu, which is still a promotion. I'm very happy for ExYu. I told him when I interviewed him, I said, I'm looking forward to seeing you on the LCS stage next year. And so I'm very happy that he's going to get that chance again. But, like, I don't know. Like, is there no way the rosters could have fallen where ExYu still gets that chance, maybe not on Disguised or maybe on Disguised, and then ExYu still gets picked up even though he costs an import slot? Because the imports on Disguised are Castle and Abadaga. And I'm going to be honest, I feel like that roster did not really cook. Disguised had this amazing opportunity to be like the NA talent team, and they kind of just instead picked up a bunch of people that have already played in the LCS before, and 2 of them being like average at best imports was pretty disappointing, if you ask me. I've already talked about that a little bit with the Abadaga news that came out, but I don't know, man. I feel like the system completely is failing UG right now. But for everybody else, I'm like disappointed they're not getting picked up, but not surprised.
It's a very interesting situation. Again, I don't want to speculate too much about any of that like import restriction or resident status stuff, as we are very much not the people
Yeah,
to
like
be doing that.
I don't know
We're
what
not lawyers.
happened there and in what
Yeah,
order things have happened. I just know that it sucks. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And on the Disguise note, while I'm not the biggest fan of their roster right now, I think we knew coming in that they were on a budget, and we also knew coming in that their situation in terms of what they want to
they're on a
prioritize
budget,
is
and yet
obviously.
they still got 2 random imports. One of them
Well, yeah,
coming back from Europe.
that's the thing, is that they're not necessarily tied to having to prioritize any talent. They just want to try to put together the best roster possible. I know that Castle, didn't win many games
He's
on Immortals, but
fine.
he had some decent performances. I could see why you might want to pick up Abadaga, although that's definitely the move that I'm like very much questioning as to why an
If
ERL mid laner is getting picked up
if
who's
I can
like been
cut
in the
in
LCS
here.
before.
So Castle at the very least like played in LCS last year, right? Whereas Abadaga is coming back from Europe. I'm going to go on record and say if Abadaga is not a top 3 mid in the LTA next split, this import is a colossal failure.
Yeah, and they have the opportunity to bring in someone like ExYu, who maybe in their analysis was similar enough to Yuji, where as
I'm good with the
a
XU
resident.
pickup. I'm
Yeah,
okay with XU for sure. I
but
mean, yeah.
ExYu ties into all this as well, because we were saying like, oh, DSG should maybe pick up Yuji in this situation, but they use their import spots in the wrong place. If they think that the difference between Yuji and ExYu is smaller than the difference between, say, Abadage and a Young or a Spirax or something like that, that's the game that they're playing right now. It doesn't look great, of course, optics-wise. They still need a resident marksman, who I'm interested to see who they pick up. Somebody like Scary Jerry or Sajed is still available
It's
if
Tomo.
they want to
It
go
is
for
Tomo.
that. Oh, it is.
It was
Is
leaked
No,
to be Tomo.
Tomo's Dignitas, so it's not
Are you
DSG.
sure?
Yeah, I have the whole sheep page up right now.
Am I stupid? Oh, I was
Yeah.
thinking we had the whole disguised roster. Okay.
No,
Okay.
not
Cool.
yet.
Cool. Do we know their
So
support?
their support is Huhi coming over
Right.
from
Which
NRG.
is also not super inspiring, but like I'm fine with it. I like Huhi.
I like Huhi too. So we'll see what they do. The other roster that is not finalized right now is Dignitas. They are the only team with a jungler spot still available, although Spica was previously signed to them, and he is a solid pickup. I would not be super surprised if he is just still
Yeah.
the jungler over somebody
I
like Yuji.
I would be
So
surprised if Yuji got picked up over Spica unless it was like in some way Spica's choice. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't expect that to be Yuji's out, unfortunately.
And at the end of the day, there are 8 teams only. One of them picked up a Latin American jungler, as they are the Latin American team Lion Gaming. So theoretically, one spot was available technically in being disguised, and they went with XU over UG. In terms of jungle being a very talented position here in North America, that is obviously true, especially with the expansion of the Americas region. So in terms of did we fail UG? I don't know. It just I hope
I
that
think the
he still
system
finds
failed UG in the sense of like all of like the import restrictions and stuff like that.
I mean,
think
definitely.
more so. Like, but yeah, I don't think him not getting picked up as an import is like a complete failure, but it just sucks, man. I don't know. Because UG should be in the professional level, and that's been true for a while. And I feel like at least this offseason, seemingly he's getting gate kept for systematic reasons. Also, the last point I want to make about Disguise is like, man, Castle and Abba are probably better than whatever any NA players they could have gotten. But like, how fucking cool would this roster have been if it was like Zamudo, XU or UG, Young, Scary Jerry or Lens, and like Zyko. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or,
I
like,
mean, you just named all of Dragon Steel basically. But
imagine if Disguise was Dragon Steel.
yeah, I mean, maybe it would be cool for us, but it wouldn't be cool for Disguise if they get relegated. So I can
But they
understand
won't,
them
because
having
they'd
to make
win.
decisions. Well,
Just win, bro.
We can criticize them as we we could argue that that's not necessarily the case, but in terms of optics or looking cool, they do not care about that at this point, as they have to produce
Yeah,
the
they
best
care about
possible
looking like
roster.
immortals instead, which I don't respect, but it's okay. We'll see.
We'll
I'll eat my
see.
words maybe in the future. I'll eat my
Yeah,
words
I
maybe in
mean,
the future.
their goal is not to make us happy. Their goal is to make the best roster that they think is possible. If that ends up being the case, good for them. If not, we get to criticize them
We
more
get to dunk on them. Yeah.
because we think that maybe some of these import decisions were not the best. And that's what Toast said. He said, we should be criticizing him if we don't like what is going
To
what they're
be
going
clear, I will
on,
still
and
root for
that's it.
Disguised no matter what because I think this team is good for the league. But
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
disappointed.
we'll see.
I'm
Hopefully
not
they're
mad. I'm
still
disappointed.
hopefully there's still a lot of content to go for there.
Yeah.
Long-winded way of saying this is probably it for
Right.
NACL promotions, which
Yeah.
is at
Which
2.
is a shame, but other than UG, I understand.
All right. Yeah, let's move on to our next headline, which is shifting over to the collegiate landscape once again. And we want to say a big congratulations to St. Clair College and Maryville University for winning the fall warm-up CLOL tournament and the NACE Star League Championship, respectively. Problem is, not a lot of people really were paying it. I feel like not a lot of people were paying attention to this. The warm-up tournament had its own ups and downs, and NACE, while it is a big league with a lot of really strong teams like Winthrop were also competing in this tournament, I feel like it didn't get a ton of attention in broadcast as the season went throughout. And so I think overall we're in a point where the fall section of CLOL is trying to accomplish a couple of things, yet it feels like nobody is really paying much attention to it until we get to the start of the actual season. And so my question to you, Hawk, is why is this the case, and what are some solutions that could be made in the future to solve it?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Because, first of all, congrats to St. Clair. They won their first ever national level title. With that being said, it was a little Mickey Mouse. I'm not gonna lie, and that's always tough. And I think kind of part of what this headline is getting at. Maryville, that's like their 4th or 5th NACE title or something like that. I mean, they have absolutely run that league. I'm not really sure how to feel about this because I definitely am bummed that seemingly, the fall tournaments don't get as much attention as, the big one in the spring, of course. Because more eyes, more attention is always good. But I'm actually going to say, I think there's a couple things at play here. One, I also think the teams just don't take it as seriously either. Like I said, CLOL Fall Warm-Up was a Mickey Mouse tournament. I think that's kind of part of the reason why people didn't really watch the finals. St. Clair beat California State University Northridge in the grand finals. Their support was like Diamond 3. I think I might have been able to play support at the same level. And there's nothing against that player. It's just the reality, right? And so that's just kind of how it is. They beat Waterloo. They beat another team in East that I am forgetting
I think
right now.
SCAD was also in that was also in that tournament. That's
Might
the
have
team
been,
with Isa,
yeah.
Wartrim, Avril.
So they beat a couple of teams, but I forget what the other team. Oh, Western. They beat Western and they beat Waterloo. So it wasn't a complete joke of a tournament, but yeah, but I think that goes to show the teams in the first place don't take these tournaments so seriously to raise the level of the of competition to where it might need to be. And then I'm also going to say this might actually be a hot take and something that goes against a lot of our philosophy here on the podcast, Crepes. I'm not too pressed about the fall tournaments not being viewed as much because I think about football or baseball or basketball. They're one season sports, and everybody watches March Madness, but no, not too many people are watching, when UNC pays Elon to go and just destroy them out of conference every other year. You know what I mean? I went and watched that game because I was an Elon fan, but that was about it. And so, yeah, I guess that goes to what the point I'm getting at is I don't think it's inherently a huge issue that the out of season games are out of season. It's a time for the players to take a break. And it's more so just a way for the teams that are playing, they get to play, but it's not anything as serious as spring.
I definitely agree in that the fall season should not be as serious as the spring. But I think there is a lot of potential here, specifically in that kind of preseason, pre-hype excitement, because right now it's a
I
whole
would like to
semester.
see more one-off tournaments like the LANs.
So that's one solution. We could have more lands. We had Hugh Fest. We had, last year we had 66. That didn't happen this time around. But I think a big thing that gets people excited is the fact is having tournaments that are official, are rally, are Riot sponsored in a way. And while warm up was, the prizing pool for that is skins basically. There's not a lot of innate
It
prizing.
was
There's,
RP.
they make it so it's not really taken as seriously, and in return, a lot of the big teams don't actually participate in it. The other thing in that regard, with the fact that the full warm up is not treated super seriously, is that basically every team is slotted into the same bracket. There's no like championship bracket and open division like there is in the CLOL season. So you're getting a lot of like kind of one-sided games if you're a high-ranked team, and then you eventually have to like basically smash your group to make your way into the bracket stage, where you eventually can play maybe some more competitive matches. On the other side, I think NACE has a really interesting format. They have a lot of really cool teams in it, all of whom are NACE members. It was ISU that that lost to Maryville in that last series. There was also teams like Winthrop that were competing in it. I think St. Clair was in it as well. And we see things like little community streams here and there, but the finals broadcast, which didn't end up getting maybe as many viewers as Maryville versus ISU finals would have maybe expected. And I think that is in part due to the fact that it's not NA. It's maybe because it's not Riot sponsored.
Yeah.
It's not as exciting.
NACE.
And so
NACE is in a very weird position in like the collegiate League of Legends space because NACE has existed for like a long time. I played in NACE Star League in like 2019. Yeah. Grapes, we casted Tufts NACE Star League back in the day. Yeah.
Like a thing there.
It's been around for a while. It's always just sort of been its own thing. I do wish it was promoted a little bit better. Speaking of promotion, I will say promotion for the CLO Fall warm-up was not very good. It's just some tweets on the RSAA account, and they spelled St. Clair with an E at the end, guys. Like,
well, that's what they did for all of the regular season last year too. So it's
yeah, like so that like I do think promotion is a part of the problem.
You want to hear my solution?
Yeah, I would love to hear yours, and then I'll give my quick one, and then we can keep it moving.
So I was talking about this with some other people as we were like watching warm-up finals and NACE finals and things like that, but I think the NACE format is great of like having 16 of the top teams like really duking it out against each other.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that in an official GG Tech kind of capacity. I want a world-style Champions League-esque system in the fall season.
You're taking this right out of my mouth. This is perfect.
It's a pure invitational. You invite all the big dogs. You invite Maryville. You invite UST. You invite Ole Miss. You invite ISU. All the big dogs. They play in this. Maybe you make it a GSL bracket into like a double elimination bracket or something like that. Have there be actual prizing, actual incentive for these players to try, but also, because it's not an actual national championship, you don't have to necessarily take it as seriously. If there's a broadcast involved, great. If not, maybe there's some community streams that are involved with it as well. But at the end of the day, you get to see the new rosters of these teams face off against each other because remember, we're in the new school year, so anybody who's graduated wouldn't be eligible to play in this. And you get to see the top teams facing off against each other in a similar way that you'll see at the end of the regular season as we get to the CLOL championships, but maybe in a more casual but still very competitive and exciting environment that really showcases all the hype teams, all the hype matchups that might not happen, especially at the beginning of conference play in the spring.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it has to be like super casual. Like, I think it should be broadcasted. I think it should be taken seriously if they were to do that. But you've taken this right out of my mouth. I think actually to make another comparison to college basketball, that's something that college basketball does. At the start of the season, typically in the early spring before you get to conference play, there will be like the aircraft carrier classic or something, right?
They used to be Maui Invitational.
It'll be like an 8-team invitational tournament where like a couple schools from like a couple different conferences will come and play, and it's really cool. And they're not held nearly in the same esteem as the national championship, but it's just a way for sort of good teams to get reps against other good teams in a tournament format earlier in the season. So yeah, I'm super on board. I think some sort of invitational tournament in the fall would be a great way to like generate hype without overshadowing the national championship. And I think that the teams participating would be very interested. And then,
Totally.
you can still run the CLOL fall warm up for all the other teams just so that they are able to play with their
100%.
esports programs. And that's
Yeah.
great. So
And
you
even if
don't
they
have to
don't,
change that, but you make the actual like big dog invitational tournament what you're actually promoting and like something that people want to watch.
100%. And I'm sure there will also be, teams that don't make the cut to that big championship bracket that are still going to play in warm up, still going to make the championship, the college championship top 32 at some point. And, you can use that as like another narrative source. Hey, these guys won the warm up tournament, something like that. It honestly probably functioned very similarly to what it's functioning now. So we're just going to be adding a little bit more in terms of what
Yeah.
G Tech will have to do, which
Yep.
maybe they won't end up doing. But I think that would be a really good way to increase excitement. I love talking about like how we can improve this collegiate landscape because I think there's a lot of untapped potential here.
I think a collegiate invitational tournament would be fucking sick. Yeah. Grapes, let's keep it moving, but I'm with you on that. Okay. 2025, there's a lot of gameplay changes, y'all. We're not gonna go like super deep, but right off the bat, quick things. Neutral objectives are gonna be different. They're bringing Atacan from Legends of Runeterra as a neutral objective. This is gonna change the game quite a bit. It's gonna both reward aggressive teams and slow scaling teams, but in different ways, which I actually think is going to create a really dynamic sort of game. And it's going to further exacerbate, like, I think, like, scaling versus, like, early game matchups, which is going to be super cool. And then you've also got the multiplayer practice tool. This is what everybody's been talking about. I've already been seeing tweets about how, it's just another thing that is getting added to the game after players ask that they're then not going to use. We'll see. Grapes, do you think players are going to use it, or is it going to be another excuse?
Oh, they better, man. I think that this is such a game changer for what specifically like, what teams can do in practice, but even from a developmental perspective, like this is going to hopefully be incredibly helpful. You can now drill certain things a lot easier instead of,
Yeah,
playing blitz scrims where you practice the early game. That was basically the only kind of deviation from traditional scrims practice that you had. But
generally,
now
yeah.
you can simulate, you could play the same Dragon Soul fight 15 different times and analyze the way you do it each time without having to play a full game in between. You could practice different compositions in the late game. You could practice different split pushing strategies. You could practice early game tower dives now. There's a lot of stuff that you can get done really effectively in this new sandbox mode, and I really hope players take advantage of it. I know somebody like Forest Within was somebody who has like advocated for this in terms of this being very helpful potentially for teams in
When Forrest
development and
wants
growth.
it, then
So
it's
yeah, he generally knows what he's talking about though.
generally,
With
yeah,
this
I
kind
would
of
agree.
stuff. So this is cool. In
Yeah,
terms of the gameplay perspective, like it's gonna, game's gonna change, players are gonna adapt. I do think that like prioritizing early game a little bit more is probably good for development because the wait, sit back and scale is always like a strategy that teams take,
yeah.
and maybe punishing that a little bit more is not a bad thing.
I think in general, having interacted with players of a lot of different skill levels as actually a coach, is that a lot of players struggle, to use a chess term, with transposition, where you can look at what you're supposed to do in this exact position, this exact game state, but then players really struggle to see the similarities of that position in other games and actually like replicate those same principles, right? Because really what you're trying to coach is not how to win a hyper-specific position, but how to instill principles that are widely applicable, right? And a lot of players at a lot of different skill levels, especially like the lower level developmental, like Apex tiers, I'm thinking like OQ level teams, right? They really struggle to see those similarities sometimes. And so I think this is going to be so good for that because now you don't have to worry so much about transposition of principles. You can literally practice that position, say 5 times, and then, okay, how do we take that and put it somewhere else, right? Instead of just talking about it, you can literally live it. And I think I'm hoping that's able to come true. And I'm hoping that sort of transposition of principles is able to happen for these players. I think that's going to be the number one biggest thing from this. I don't want to speculate like too much on the actual gameplay stuff because it's really hard to say like without knowing exactly what it's going to look like. But yeah, I think this is super cool. I'm hoping it doesn't become another excuse as well because I honestly could see it becoming one. But like guys, come on, use this. This is going to be awesome. And I think the fact that players and teams can do it on their own time as opposed to Champions Queue, which is like a little bit more specific, means that it should hopefully be used more.
I think the big difference between this and Champions Queue potentially is that maybe Champions Queue being dead just exposed pro players for like not wanting to play or just that don't play solo queue at all in their free time. Whereas this is something that people can
Could
use
be a
in
part
their
of
scrims
team
and
practice.
something that coaches
Yeah.
use in their team practice. And so I would love to see like kind of I would love to see like a coach go through like a practice one time, maybe you know like and see what like different unique ideas and drills that they come up with, because I think
Hear
that could
that,
be a lot
Uncle
of fun.
Phil Colomer sneezes retired. Who's another coach? Rocco, if you're watching,
Yeah.
we'd love to see so maybe sit in a practice tool practice.
Yeah,
All right, let's
I'm
keep it
excited to
moving.
see what they come up with. Yeah, we can move on to our fourth headline here. We're going to talk about ACL a little bit, which, you know, we discussed some of the rosters initially, but now the regular season has concluded. The playoffs have really gotten underway. We've eliminated some teams from the playoff bracket and now have our top 12. Going to be completely honest and say I've been enjoying my offseason a little bit. I haven't been watching too much ACL, but I've been keeping track of some of the narratives and things like that. We now have our 12 teams with the lower bracket starting on Monday you know, the upper bracket in the upper bracket semifinals going to be starting on next Friday. That'll be Ole Miss versus Guangdong Flying Tigers and a CCG civil war between CCG Esports and CCG Glorp. I guess got to pick one matchup here,
Yeah.
Hawk. What do you like more?
Yeah, Grapes, we've been enjoying, you know, our time away from esports and everything, but we definitely still wanted to talk about Aegis because it is going on. We talked about it a few weeks ago on the pod. CCG Civil War going to be super hype. Grapes, the matchup though that I'm really looking at actually in the lower bracket, I think this Pulstar versus Straw Hat Crew match is going to be pretty electric because this is a lower bracket elimination match, and this is a team that I think we had power ranked like third ish against a team we had power ranked like 6th to 7th ish. So I think it's gonna be really, really cool. Yeah, definitely the matchup that I've got my eyes on. It is unfortunately only a best of 3 until a little bit later in the tournament, but yeah, like we're starting to get into some heavy hitters here.
Yeah, Straw Hat Crew had an interesting regular season. They lost to CCG Esports, which is basically the CCG team that
Right,
was
that's
in the
acceptable.
NACL.
That's not
They lost
surprising.
to Mirage Alliance Baguette, which is basically the Apex Mission Impossible roster from last summer, and they also lost to Weber State 2-0. I don't know if exactly there were roster issues or like subs happening for some of those games, but just taking a quick look, like that is an interesting set of teams to have fallen to in the group stage. But now they're here in the lower bracket, facing off against Pulstar. I mean, the roster is very exciting. It's Dr. Calculus, Frost Force, Zhao Danny, Sushi, Kim Down. There's a lot of really cool players.
They also
in
got
in that team.
sent to the lower bracket 2-0 by CCG Glorp. So
Okay. I think that this was a team I feel like that we agreed like had a very high ceiling, but we weren't 100% sure of like how well they would have done. Pulstar sent down to the lower bracket by Ole Miss. I still think that this team is going to be very, very good. I think I have Pulstar winning this one, although I could see it kind of going either way.
yeah, I'm hoping Straw Hat Crew can make it close. Also worth noting, by the way, AOE also lost to Glorp. So
Yeah, that
I'm
Glorp
sorry. Wait,
roster,
that's not their opponent. Their opponent's not AOE. Sorry, that confused me a little bit. But yeah,
yeah, they had playing
it's
Pulsar.
Pulse. No, you're right. Well, regardless, this should hopefully be a good match. I think Pulse is favored, but I'm really hoping Straw Hat Crew can make it close. I've been rooting for the Straw Hat Crew team a little bit. I like a lot of the players on it, so you know.
Yeah, I think the CCG Civil War is definitely one to look at. The Glorp team like originally had like I think like Ninim and some of those guys on it, but then they replaced them with basically all of Dragonsteel. And so now they have Scary Jerry, Zyko, and Zamudo, as well as Vacant and Five Mini.
Who could have expected that roster would explode, Graves?
Yeah, not me, totally. But they found some pretty solid replacements, I would say.
Would say
And so having
so.
them going up against, another really fun team with, Array actually being a part of that CCG roster as well. They have Crimson, Crier, Aljun, and Trevor. I think I have CCG. Actually, I don't even know. This is a crazy one
I
because
think that's going to be a really good one, yeah.
they both did pretty well, in their group. Obviously, Glorp like had that, first week not go their way or necessarily. They dropped a game to like next level esports, but since then they've been pretty solid.
Yeah. I think
I don't even
that one is going to definitely be good. Not an elimination match though. Keep in mind, they
Yes.
do still have another life.
I do like look through all these teams and totally understand why they're here, and I definitely think that they're all very solid. I want to shout out like
There's a
St.
lot of good
Clair
teams still here.
for going on a run here. I know they
Also,
had their
ISU
CLOL fall
collegiate
warm up.
representation.
Yeah, ISU has looked great this fall.
They were
This new
undefeated in their
roster
group,
is
if I'm not
awesome.
mistaken.
Yeah, they also almost they made it all the way to against Maryville.
Dude, I'm telling you, ISU
Nice.
with fucking music is like that's a team, man.
Totally. Definitely. I'm very excited to see what they do next year. That North Conference is going to be wild for collegiate. But
One last point: if Straw Hat Crew upsets Pulse and then also ISU wins, I believe we get the Cross versus Music showdown, which would be super fun. So
fun.
I'm definitely rooting for that now because I also really like both those players. So I'd love to see them play against each other.
Yeah, make sure to check out all the community streams. We should maybe get in on some of this. Maybe start.
We are
co-streaming some of these
technically
games.
co-streamers
I
of
know.
ACL.
We've been pretty bad co-streamers.
We have been
I
pretty bad at
apologize
that so
to
far.
Ivar and Aegis, but maybe we get into it for the playoffs if there's like an unstreamed game or something happening at some point.
Maybe.
Let's wrap things
ACL
up
top 12.
here in this episode by doing a little bit of the holiday cheer. Or I guess we're Thanksgiving right now. It's our Thanksgiving episode. What are you most thankful for in the NA developmental landscape, Hawk, as we finish off 2024 and get ready for 2025?
You know, Grapes, there's a lot to be thankful for. There's a lot to be frustrated about, but I'm going to be honest, I'm actually feeling okay about the future of NA Dev today. You know, the article came out earlier today when we're at the time of recording. And yeah, I'm thankful that our ecosystem will still exist. I'm hopeful that our jobs will still exist. I'm thankful for Salty Runback nonetheless, because it is the reason for which we are still here, and all the people in esports out there, because I think that's been the number one thing that's kept me coming back. It's not just how much I love this stupid game called League of Legends, but how fun it is to be a part of this community. So I think that's me.
Yeah, the community aspect is awesome. I love being a part of this and getting to talk with so many awesome players and producers and talent and casters and all this stuff. So shout out to you if we've interacted in this past year. It's been a pleasure and an honor. I'm most grateful, of course, for the stuff that we've been able to do here with Salty Runback, whether that's kind of reinvent what a Tier 3 broadcast was at the start of the year with Tier 3 Tonight. We got to do maybe not got to do, but we did our CLOL knockout bracket, which I thought was like a really cool learning experience, as well as a really fun way a nice way to give back a little bit to a community that was hurting at that time. I'm very grateful for our ability to go to Boise and commentate the grand finals there. Get to record some other content there as well. And just all the opportunities that we've gotten thanks to Salty Runback, and thanks to all of you.
I'm also thankful for all the people that have specifically followed Grapes and I on our crazy Salty Runback ideas. Everyone that worked on the CLOL show, everyone that donated to the CLOL show. Special shout out to Leanne and Cam for. I feel like they are the first two. I don't want to say employees. I hate that word, but like they are the Salty. They are like the founding addition to Salty Runback. You know, like they're the first expansion, and they've been with us through all of the bullshit that we have done throughout 2024. So I specifically want to say them by name, but everybody else that's helped us with any project, you know who you are, and thankful for you as well.
Yeah. You got any fun plans for this weekend, or are you just chilling in LA?
I got a Friendsgiving tomorrow and Thursday. That's about it. No, I'm not going home though. Yeah.
The Friendsgiving is good. That's a good time. Are you cooking anything? Are you bringing it? Is it like a potluck situation?
Yeah, I'm responsible for mac and cheese because that's Thanksgiving for 20-year-olds. So
that
for people in their mid-20s, yeah.
I don't know if it's definitely not a hot take, but like mac and cheese are like.
I'm excited. I'm gonna do like a good one. I'm gonna do like a baked one, like real
100%.
good, like maybe some bacon in there. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. What about you, man? You seen family, anything like that?
Yeah. Got some family coming over, or actually, we're going over to my uncle's house, about an hour away.
Nice.
So, got a lot of family around here, which is nice. I'm grateful that been able to come back here after school and Still get to be nearby.
That
Maybe
is
one day
great.
though. We'll be out in Cali together. I
Dude.
definitely want to. I definitely want to make a trip out there sometime.
Come on,
I hope
man. Yeah.
let's do. We gotta do. Let's. I'm gonna put a vow in the next like 6 months or something. We're gonna do an in-person episode.
All right.
We're
there
We're
for
gonna
it.
make that happen.
Dude, I did just get the news that my grandparents are finally selling today. They're finally have a buyer locked in for their large farmhouse that they have had for
Oh wow.
60 years or whatever. So yeah, that's so this is the last Thanksgiving at their house. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss it, but my grandparents are like 80 plus. So it was
congrats to them.
time, but a big change in the Buckley clan. So go and see your families if you're able to and you want to, or see your friends. And I'm at least thankful that I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Make sure to call up someone that you're thankful for in your life. Tell them that you appreciate them. Even if you're not able to be with them here for this time of year. Thankful for you, Hawk, as well. So
yeah, I'm thankful for you too, bro.
That's gonna wrap it up.
And
for this
they were
episode.
podcasters.
And they were. we're not beating the
I
allegations.
know Kai is going to tweet about this. That man is going to tweet about this.
Oh man. Well, hope you all enjoy your holiday weekend. Thank you so much for everything. Again, we'll probably be posting around here every once in a while until we get to the new year. But yeah, very much appreciate all the support and all the love that you guys have given us, and we're super excited for all the stuff that we have looking forward as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you hate your life and there's nothing to be thankful for, you're wrong. But if you really feel that way, you can take what we said with a grain of salt. Make sure to find the things that you're thankful for in your life. Make sure to follow us on social media. We'd be thankful for that as well at Hawkcast, at Speedy Grapes, at Salty Runback Pod. Stay tuned for future content here on Salty Runback. We'll see you all in the next one.